You guys, what if one of the most valuable lead generation channels for your business is the one that you've actually been pushing to the back burner? And yes, I'm calling myself out on this. In this episode of Humans with Growth, I'm talking with Sophie Brannon, who's the CEO over at StudioHawk US, a global SEO agency that helps businesses grow their website traffic by improving how they show up on Google. We talk all about why search engine optimization gets misunderstood and underestimated, even though it can become one of the most powerful growth channels that you have. Sophie breaks down the actual role that SEO should play within your marketing strategy, what early traction should look like for SEO, how all the different aspects of SEO come together, so technical, content, backlinks, we break it all down for you. How to be thinking about keyword intent and what businesses should start and also stop doing if they want to show up on Google as well as in AI search results. So that being said, let's dive into today's episode. So Sophie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat today.
Absolutely. So I introduced a little of the professional side of you, but in a sentence or a story, who are you as a human? What is bringing you joy right now?
Yeah, I'm a traveler. I love to travel, explore new places. I spent a good stint of time in New Zealand and Australia. I've been all over a bunch of Europe, and I'm super lucky now, opening up the US office. I am all over the US these days too. So that is what brings me the most joy, 100%. And my little part-time doggy that I have, Mabel, who's just the cutest.
So what's the best place you have ever traveled to?
The most beautiful place is New Zealand, for sure. Just in terms of the mountains, the lakes, just everything is just beautiful. But weather-wise, it's Australia, hands down. Like, I would go back to, I think I've been there 3 times, and I try and get back to the offices as much as I can out there because I'm like, hey, invite me over so I can spend all of my time in Australia.
Okay. Doesn't Australia have some unique sort of wildlife, though? I just know Australia as like big kangaroos that'll kill you and tarantulas.
Yes, apparently everything in Australia tries to kill you, but honestly, I've not seen any of that in anywhere I've been, and I've even trekked through some of like the jungle stuff out there. So even in the bush, like unless you're really unlucky, you're probably not going to run across a brown snake or any kind of wolf spider or anything like that.
Okay, that's what I hear is like Australia has the things that will try to kill you. And it's like, okay, well, we will stay out of that part of the world for right now.
No, definitely. Just don't look at the maps where it shows you where like the sharks and the crocs and the spiders and all of that stuff is.
Well, that's terrifying. Okay, duly noted. So pivoting a little bit, with a lot of small to mid-sized businesses, the business owner always needs leads, always needs clients. And their immediate go-to marketing channel is some sort of paid ads because it's a put $1 and get $5 out. And so SEO gets pushed to the back burner a lot because it can be hard to prove ROI. And in theory, it can take some time.
Absolutely.
So what have you seen, and why do so many companies not see the value of SEO?
Yeah, it's probably because of what you said just right there during the question. With paid channels, you can see every dollar that you put in, what's coming out of the back of that. SEO is so much more gray, but it can actually really help even with the PPC side of things because, you can have a very well optimized page that is showing up organically. And even before it starts showing up, it can help with quality scores of the paid ads. It can actually help to reduce CPC. And there's so many other kind of like benefits to improving relevancy and all of these kind of things. So look, SEO is a long-term marketing channel for a very small business that needs leads immediately. It's not the right channel for them. For a business or a brand that is trying to solidify their kind of positioning and trying to solidify their space in search results and is finding paid media to be extortionate because, CPCs are going up. It really is. Like we tested even paid media in the US ourselves, like coming out to Atlanta only kind of just over a year ago now. We were like, we need leads too. So we'll put it straight into paid, and it was crazy money for pretty low quality leads. So similar to us, we then just started actually investing in good quality content and more thought leadership and starting to do that. And we're getting them coming through organically. But yeah, going back to, it's a long-term channel. It takes about 6 to 12 months to really kick in to start seeing ROI, but you can start seeing kind of leading indicators like visibility increases, traffic increases sooner than that kind of 6 to 12 month mark. It's just starting to get those leads coming through. So it really just depends on how urgent that need is and how much budget you have for the cost per clicks to continue going up, because I expect them to maybe 2 to 4 times in like cost over the next 12 months as well.
Yep, that's what we've consistently seen, is that Google prices are going to continue to increase. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok ad cost will skyrocket just because there is, to some degree, platform saturation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're seeing a big trend in that as well. And I think that'll be the case as ads start coming into AI search as well. Because, more platforms and more businesses trying to show up in all these different spaces. There's a lot of fear around SEO is dead because AI is coming in, taking it all over. And position one's not the same as position one used to be for a lot of queries these days, right? So it's a crazy time right now in the search space, but there's still a lot of value in investing in SEO to really solidify your brand. And the way I always think about it is the same as like renting versus buying a house. Renting is the paid ad side of things, and the minute you stop, that's it, you're going to disappear. Whereas the organic side of things, okay, it does need to be consistent, it does need to be long term, and you need to continually be producing good content and maintaining good technical hygiene and continuing to grow your authority. But ultimately, that effect is going to compound much more over time.
Yep, it's definitely very much a snowball effect. But going back to what you're saying, it's like, okay, if you're building a business, do you actually want to own your business or not? Do you want to own your lead generation channels or not? Or do you want to keep on paying for Mark Zuckerberg's 37th yacht?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Wouldn't we all like one of those?
If only. We're going to get there one day, theoretically. Put some asterisks in there. So you talked about it taking about 6 to 12 months to really see things go full momentum. In the first 90 or so days, what could you expect in terms of visibility, and what do you normally see across clients?
Yeah, so it depends on the strategy that you're going with. For us, we are very focused on the ROI side of things because we do want to make sure, working with small to medium-sized businesses, that ultimately you're going to get the most for your money as soon as you can. So making sure the strategy is aligned with what those top level business objectives are. So whether that's leads, whether that's like sales via e-commerce website, whatever those kind of main core indicators, performance indicators are for your brand, making sure your strategy aligns with that. So for example, not producing loads of blog content that's realistically just going to bring in a lot of informational intent. You're going to want to be targeting more of the commercial and transactional intent kind of queries. So yeah, within the first 90 days or so, you should definitely, as long as you're producing good quality content, you're structuring your campaign correctly, you're targeting, if you're doing traditional backlinks or anything like that, you're targeting those core pages and those core areas early on in the campaign, and not just doing things for the sake of doing them, which is how a lot of SEO is done these days. Yep. That's going to help see that visibility increase within kind of the first 90 days. I always push the team to make sure that that is something we're seeing, and it's something that we're checking and continually testing and doubling down on strategies that we're seeing are working. And if we're seeing something's not working as fast as we think, pivoting. Like there's not one hard and fast strategy rule that's going to work for everyone, but those 3 core pillars are going to be the same.
100%. So there's a lot that goes into SEO. Number one is the content, but there's so much more. Can you walk me through kind of like what are the pillars of SEO that people should be paying attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. And the way we look at it is like a pyramid. So the foundation of every website should be technical health and technical performance. So making sure that the pages and the website itself is actually crawlable, actually indexable, it's got good structure, even just things like the navigation is clickable and it can render correctly. Like there's all of this under the hood stuff that needs to be done first before you even think about content and links or anything else. So get that technical foundation in place first, because it doesn't matter if you've got the best content in the world, better than all of your competitors. If Google or AI bots or anything like that can't crawl it, can't actually get to it at all, then it's not going to help you at all. So technical foundation is number one. Number two is the content pillar. And when I'm talking content, I'm not just talking, oh, we need to write loads of blogs, because that's definitely an old school SEO technique. In some cases, it still works, but not in all industries. But making sure that your content is unique. It's not AI generated, because Google is starting to come out now to say that that is going to be rated as the lowest quality scoring type of content according to their latest search rater guidelines. So not AI generated, or at least if you are leveraging AI tools, because there are some good ones out there, but that you are having a proper human review that content, and it is expert led, and it is in your tone of voice and it's your brand. But that could be for e-commerce websites, collection pages, above and below the fold content, product descriptions, making sure they're not directly copied from your manufacturers, because that is very, very common, incredibly common, duplicate content, cannibalized content. Then making sure that, if you're service-based business, you've got things like your actual service pages has enough content on there that bots can really, truly understand who you are and what you do. Solid FAQs, making sure it's got that Q&A format. When we're thinking about AI search, for example, there's a phrase called chunking. So essentially they're taking and pulling out snippets of content to formulate all of their answers. The more chunkable your content is, the more short, snappy, that content can be, but the more in-depth that it is as well, in terms of it covers a wide variety of topics around anything that they could kind of talk about related to your individual niche, then that's also going to be great. And then you can then also layer on like long form blog content, guides, build tools, calculators, and all of these extra things that kind of supplements that content. And then we get to the authority, which is the link acquisition. And that can be traditional link building, guest posting, things like that. That can also be things like digital PR, which is great for more of the larger brands, but really kind of building out, that authority by doing great kind of campaigns to get mentioned in Vogue, Cosmopolitan, New York Times, like all of these kind of bigger publications that carry a lot of weight. But then brand mentions and citations are also great for that as well, especially in the AI search world. So yeah, those three core pillars: technical foundation to start, build a good layer of strong, authoritative, thought leadership based content, and then the kind of link acquisition, which should start compounding if you've got good content and good technical anyway.
So let's start with the technical side of stuff, because that's the stuff that is messy. How do you know if your website is technically set up correctly?
So there's a few different things that you'll need to look at. So the quickest and easiest way to see if your page is actually being indexed in Google or not is to literally copy paste the URL and put that URL into Google with a site search function. So site : put the URL in. If nothing comes up in search results, then it's not being indexed. If something comes up in search results and it's that page, then it's being indexed. That's check one, done, tick.
Wow, easy. Okay.
But that's the very, very, very basic.
That's the basic stuff. Okay.
Picking it up. And then we also need to look at, can Google actually render it correctly? Is it pulling through the content? So there's a bunch of different plugins. I use one called the JavaScript Switcher plugin. Add that onto, or Chrome extension, not plugins, shall I say. You can just add that onto the site. Add it onto your Chrome as part of your Chrome extensions. Go onto your page, switch to JavaScript off. If all of your content disappears, then you might have a rendering issue. So then you need to dig into that a little bit deeper. Is it actually in the code? Like, that's when it kind of gets very kind of techie. But that is normally one of the main problems that we see. But if your site is built on something like WordPress, Elementor, Shopify, something like that, as long as the devs who build it haven't done something funky, it will normally work pretty well. It is a relatively rare issue that we see now in comparison to what we used to see. Then you just need to double check things like your page titles, your meta descriptions are well optimized, you've got good internal linking. There's all of these different layers. I think when we onboard a client, we've got maybe an 80, 90 point checklist that we go through just to check that those technical fundamentals are in place. But yeah, the main thing is, can the page even be indexed to start with? And then getting some of those optimizations put in place too. One really good tool, it's free. Anyone can use it. It's Google Search Console. That will flag if there's any kind of major technical issues. And within that, you can see if a page is being indexed as well. So that's a nice one for more just spot checking some of those things.
Okay, so that's technical. And then let's talk about all things content, because this is my bread and butter. What makes a piece of content rank on Google?
Very good
That's
question.
a loaded
I love
question.
it.
I know.
It's a loaded question. I love it though. So let's break it down into a couple of examples. So we'll do collection page on a e-commerce website. So that could be, for example, a t-shirts page on an apparel-based website, and it lists all of the different t-shirts. So what makes that page rank content-wise? It's obviously not all just the content that helps it rank, but let's just focus on that content for now. Is the content good quality? Is the first question. Does it actually explain what the page is about and why it's beneficial for the users?
Hey guys, real quick, this episode is sponsored by Parison Network. Parison Network is a matchmaking service that connects businesses to marketing agencies that will actually get you results. There's over 50,000 agencies in the United States alone, and picking the right one can feel, well, pretty impossible. Parison Network simplifies the entire process by doing all of the vetting for you. From the initial agency search to interviewing and vetting the top marketing agencies to getting proposals and helping you with the discovery call, Parison Network does it all. This way, you end up partnering with a marketing agency that actually delivers outcomes, not empty promises. If you're ready to stop wasting money on marketing that just doesn't work, visit ParisonNetwork.com and get your free agency search started today. That's ParisonNetwork.com, PERISSON network.com.
Does it provide that additional context? Does it answer the questions that they're supposed to have? Then does it take it to the next level? Does that then also incorporate the queries that actually people are searching for in a very natural, non-keyword spammy, easy to read way? It needs to be a very natural process. Think human first before you think bot.
Okay.
Do all the pages interconnect with each other with good internal links with good anchor text? So anchor text being the actual hyperlinked part of the text, making sure other pages are linking back to your page about t-shirts with actual relevant queries, natural anchor text there. And then, just making sure it's well structured, making sure that it reads well, making sure that it's high quality. Now, obviously, the content's not the only thing that's going to make it rank. It's all of these other factors as well. But the main thing you want to be looking at, is it in-depth enough? Is it good quality, or is it AI rubbish? And is it actually well optimized? It's probably the three main kind of core factors there.
So that's with collections. When you write a blog post and some people spend 20 minutes on a blog post, some people spend 5 hours on a blog post. What makes a blog post good for SEO specifically?
Depth as well is probably the answer to that question. Simply because a blog it needs to be as in depth as what the topic needs. So if it's a blog that is literally, how many podcasts are there in New York, or podcast hosts are there in New York, or something like that, you can then just have a nice little listicle article with all of the podcast hosts in New York. That's very, very broad. It's probably not really going to rank because it's so generic. So then we could narrow it down. It could be like, okay, fashion podcasts, or like health podcasts, or business podcasts. We can then start digging some of these things a little bit deeper. And again, just having a nice listicle with as much information collected as possible. That will probably help because it's much more niche. But what I would really recommend is making sure that we're honing in on your specialism, and you're not just producing blog content for the sake of producing blog content. You actually have something of value to say and have an opinion on it, rather than it just being churning out content that is just generic or is just a bit bland. It needs to be really genuinely engaging, just from a human level perspective. And then layer in, is it well targeted? Does it have good structure? Things like lists now, making sure we've got nice bullet points in there, tables that are actually crawlable. All of that's going to help with showing up in things like AI overviews, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and the AI search world. But it also helps with just actually making content better and just more readable overall. If people are spending more time on the page and they're actually consuming a lot of this content, and the chances are that's going to send a nice relevance signal off to Google as well. Depth, honestly, and uniqueness and quality, once again, is kind of the three core things there. And then just making sure you've got some of those foundations in place from a optimization perspective of target keyword, search intent, and covering off those things.
So speaking of keywords, how do you decide which keywords to go after?
Yeah, so I love keyword mapping. It's like one of my favorite, possibly mundane tasks that you can do in the SEO world, especially if you're mapping like an entire website like we typically do when a client is like first onboarded with us. So you can approach it in a few different ways. So first of all, you can think about the topic first and then try and match keywords to that topic. I personally prefer doing it the other way and like actually digging into, okay, I've got a general concept of what I want. So I want to create a blog post about t-shirts. Let's go down the t-shirt route again. I want to create a blog post about t-shirts. What questions are people asking about t-shirts? And then I will go into a tool like SEMrush, Ahrefs, very similar. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but you can then do keyword research within that. You can also use, if you are doing like paid ads, you can look at Google Keyword Planner. That's all included as part of that. That is also free, but you don't always get like exact numbers if you use the free version. It's more bracketed. It's like 10 to 100 people or something like that searching it a month. Whereas if you have the more paid versions of these things, you can actually see specific numbers. Anyway, so then you go into the tools, you start plugging around with start with broad keywords and start narrowing that down, and then start grouping some of those queries together to start getting a real kind of understanding of how you want to structure it. Then what I would do is I would plug those into Google itself. I want to see straight from the horse's mouth, like what's actually showing up for this. Is it even blog posts? Because if I'm just going to type in something like, oh, I want to rank for t-shirts, and my blog post is going to do that. Well, it's probably not, because the intent doesn't match. So if I was to type in t-shirts right now, I'm in the UK right now, so it's probably going to come up with all sorts of weird stuff. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're all e-commerce based websites with category pages showing up and a couple of videos and then product based search. So a blog's probably not going to rank for t-shirts, right? So then I need to make sure that I am honing that in. Okay, like maybe I want to do something about, maybe white t-shirts. Same thing. It's going to be e-commerce based queries that show up. It's not going to be blogs. So you really just need to match the intent to those queries that you want to choose. And then another angle you can do is, if you know you're going up against some specific competitors, plug those into some of these tools as well. And you can do direct side-by-side comparisons. So with SEMrush, for example, it's called a keyword gap analysis. You can plug it in, you get a nice little Venn diagram. You can see what they're showing up for, what pages are driving the most traffic for them, all of those different kind of things. And that's a great way to identify some kind of missed opportunities. But ultimately, like, you can also just look and see what your competitors are doing, what they're showing up for, because you've seen them showing up for it, and like what kind of quality content is being produced, and how you can make that better. Because we don't want to be copying, we don't want to be sheep, but it's always nice to get inspiration.
What do you see in terms of keyword search volume? Like, how do you decide this keyword doesn't have a lot of search volume, but it's more high intent, versus this is more of an informational blog post and it has a higher search volume?
Yeah, so I like to focus on intent more, especially to start with earlier on in a campaign, because ultimately that's what's going to get the ROI sooner rather than later. So if it has a strong commercial transactional intent, it matches up with the page type that I want to create for that keyword, or for that group of keywords, then chances are I'm probably going to go for it, while my higher search volume stuff is starting to build up in the background. What we typically see, and it's not always a hard and fast rule, but just generally speaking, higher search volume terms are naturally more competitive because people want to take a piece of that pie. Right. The lower search volume terms, much less competitive, much more likely to rank a lot faster and to show up a lot faster. So kind of building out a low intent strategy, good intent, low keyword volume strategy, it might actually end up driving more leads than just going straight after the high volume, because you're probably going to get there a lot faster than what you are for some of those higher volume terms. So it really is like a good balance of deciding as part of the strategy. And I think this is why people come to agencies and things like that, or hire in-house specialists, because doing SEO work itself is not necessarily that hard. Like, you have to just, once you learn how to do SEO, like, there's nuances to it, but the actual tasks individually themselves, like, once you know how to do them, you can do the tasks. It's the strategic guidance over the top of that, all of the tools, all of the extra kind of work that goes into, okay, we need to go down this avenue and this route because of X, Y, and Z reasons to hit your business goals. It is time consuming, and it is a lot of background work that maybe it's really hard to see unless you're doing it yourself. So I think going after intent is going to be really, really important, because if you just do informational side of things, then the chances are you're not going to drive a lot of traffic, because a lot of informational intent is being taken up now by AI overviews, ChatGPT, people doing a lot of research externally before they land on a website. But the better intent stuff is probably going to be the stuff that drives you leads.
Do you have a minimum search volume for the more high intent keywords that you will say, beneath this threshold isn't worth creating the content for?
Varies per client, to be honest.
Okay.
With some clients, we do have that minimum threshold, because there's just so much opportunity that we're like, you know what, actually getting 10 searches a month is not going to really do much for us. But going after, say, 1,000, which is still lower than what a lot of their kind of higher search volume terms are, yeah, we'll definitely do that. But if we're going down into like a very, very niche specific industry, then those lower search, high intent keywords are probably actually going to be much more relevant and drive better quality leads. So again, it depends on also what the client's kind of expectations are and what they're benchmarking us on too. Because if they're looking at just general form inquiries, then maybe quantity is also really important, because they can turn around basically anyone. But if you're going after a very niche kind of specific type of buyer, then that quality of that MQL is going to be a much more important thing. So yeah, it really varies depending on what it is you're looking for.
Cool. I like it. And so then the third part of this SEO equation is everything that's off page and your domain authority and backlinks. Where do you even start with all of this?
Yeah, this is a really hard thing for people to do internally, to be honest. And it's one of the very main reasons why agencies, I think, exist at this point, because like even with StudioHawk, we've been going on for over 10 years now globally. We've got a team of about 15, 20 people just in our link acquisition team, plus a separate digital PR team, which I think is maybe now like 8, 9 people, possibly more. So it is a lot of manpower, because you have to consistently build really strong relationships, reach out to all of these publications, find the publications, do the vetting checks and all those kind of things. So really, I would suggest straight away just like looking at an external vendor, but just making sure that the quality of what that vendor can produce is very kind of focused, because there's still out there so much really negative SEO work that happens. There's still lots of link farms. There's still lots of like black hat stuff that occurs in all industries. So really just having like a niche, like this is the list of what I want. It's a certain, not just domain rating or domain authority or authority score metric, but also what is that site also showing up for? Like, is it relevant to my industry? Relevance is so much more important now than it ever was before. So that's going to be a really important thing. There's all of these different kind of checklist points that really you should go down. But then if you are a small business and you're trying to do this internally because you don't have the budget, because, you know, sourcing an external vendor for link acquisition can be very expensive, especially in the US. Like some of the price ranges I've seen from agencies, like minimums of like 5-10K a month is out of reach for a lot of small, medium businesses, right? So I would say building up connections with local, just like your local network, and just reaching out to them, like honestly, and just building up good network connections and then getting them to link back to you where it makes sense for them to. Pushing out any press releases when you actually are pushing out something that's great. Like, you know, it's not just we've hired a new person kind of press release, like something genuinely interesting, I think, and trying to push those out. You can do things like PR Newswire, I think, for maybe a couple of $100 a press release, but if it goes and it spirals, you can get a couple of nice links out of that. And then just like connecting with the local community and trying to get into like more of the local press side of things, producing good quality content, thought leadership content on the website, tools, guides, things like that. They're really good linkable assets. So if you can get those shared out as well, you're more likely to get links. So yeah, just connecting some of those dots, and then also thinking about how you can extend that past just SEO, like looking at your email marketing platforms, looking at your social media platforms, how you can extend it all much more holistically, rather than, you know, SEO working over here doing something, right, and all your other channels doing their own thing over there.
Right. And that's at the end of the day, like SEO is one piece of the puzzle, and all of these different aspects of marketing, all these different channels have to come together and work together, because backlinks, you get them from Facebook, you get them from Instagram, LinkedIn, your website. Well, obviously your website, your email list, all kind of work together to build up your SEO.
Absolutely. It's about brand exposure at the end of the day. And we're seeing that become so much more important in terms of like AI search. And I mean, it's always been important. Like the brands that you see dominate search results are typically the big brands, right? And rightly or wrongly, it's, part of Google's many interesting algorithm updates that they've done over, especially maybe the last 3 to 5 years. But that's a big story for another day that we can chat about for sure. Like even just making sure you're owning your niche across all of your channels and owning your brand and your brand voice, your brand messaging before you even think about investing in SEO, like having all of that really defined will then really help you to kind of move to the next level.
I love it. So sort of last question, because you and I could talk about AI search and be here for another 2 hours. When it comes to all things SEO, SEO has been around for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, since the beginning of the internet. And ranking on Google used to be really easy with what we now refer to as black hat SEO. When it comes to all things showing up on Google, what are some of the outdated SEO tactics that people are still wasting time on?
Ooh, there has been a big resurgence in a lot of some fun black hat SEO techniques after a few algorithm updates recently. So listicles was a really fun one. And actually that was more, I think, for showing up in AI search, like just self-publishing a whole bunch of listicles where you just listed your own brand first. That worked great for traditional SEO, and then it also started working really well for AI search and showing up in like ChatGPT and things like that as well. So like that's a waste of time. Google's actually started penalizing that more consistently now as well. Producing content for the sake of content, and also more of these programmatic SEO techniques of just mass producing pages at scale. Google is actually just doesn't really index a lot of those pages anymore. Like they need to be unique. I've actually, as of December, seen a big surge in people starting to get penalized again, which I haven't seen a penalty for quite a while. People just mass producing bad quality pages and just getting penalized for it long term. So there's all of those, I think, are probably the main ones that we're seeing.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If people would like to connect with you further, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so you can go on LinkedIn, Sophie Brannon. I'll be there. I've got Instagram as well. So Sophie Brannon SEO, I think is the handle on there. Or just, drop me an email, sophie@studiohawk.com, or visit us on studiohawk.com on our website.
Perfect. For everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for joining, and we will catch you on the next episode of Humans of Growth.